Hi, Braxton. Welcome to RØDE Creator of the Year Awards 2025 as the Emerging Artist winner. How are you?
Wait, did I win? Did I catch that right?
Yeah, you won.
Oh my gosh, incredible. Holy smokes, I thought, is that coming through okay?
Well done, congratulations.
Incredible, thank you guys so much. What an incredible honor.
Yeah, when we went through your body of work, it's no-brainer. It's just incredible, the amount of effort. How is this going to change your life?
Well, World has been a dream project for me. I've been making all kinds of films over different lengths and different forms over the years, and I feel like with this series, I've finally made something that has met the moment in a way that I'm really proud of, and I really want to keep it going. And these first 14 parts were all self-funded, and I wasn't really sure the runway that I had past the beginning of this series, and this is going to fund the next 10 movies right there, right away.
Oh my goodness. We're so excited then. And now with all this new gear.
It's the best life-changing thing, really. It just enables me to do what I love. That's it. And that's the absolute greatest.
What was that journey like when you first started sharing your own personal stories online? Before, was it just something that you kept to yourself and you shared with friends and family?
Yeah, certainly. I've got more movies that I made on little tape recorders than I've still posted to the internet. But I started sharing my movies publicly on YouTube in 2017, and that's one of the great blessings of our time is you don't need permission to make films anymore. And that was the impetus for me to begin sharing my work publicly.
Did you find that you kind of had to surrender to the different ways of telling your story based on how people receive or consume media in these platforms?
There's certainly been aesthetic adjustments, and I think my work has gotten faster over the years. But I think that is as much about me being a viewer of what's being made these days as it is about being a creator. And I think the pace of these platforms certainly has kept a vibrancy and a speed to the work that I think is exclusive to these new platforms. But Instagram, it's I would like to think all of my body of work is connected in one way or another, and the changes are more incremental.
And how many years or how much time had you invested in it before you started to see that things were picking up? And I know metrics are a really good way to kind of assess the success. But when did you start to feel like, okay, I think I can pivot to this full time?
That would have been 3 months ago. So I've been at this for about 10 years, and this new series is the one to find an audience almost immediately. But the working practice had been developed over the years before that. So I posted my first Instagram video in June. I started from a clean account of 0 followers, and I was so surprised and extremely grateful for the response that I got on these movies. And it was a wonderful validation because I'd been making these films that I knew in my heart that I enjoyed and I thought were worthy all of these years. And it was all practice and preparation for this, and I'm very glad that this is the series too. It feels like the beginning of an adventure.
For sure, and now you have way more opportunity just by winning this to just keep it going and to continue inspiring others, to continue telling your wonderful, quirky stories. What made you want to enter the Creator of the Year Awards this year?
I found out about RØDE's Creator of the Year Awards last year through Colin, Samir, and Guax, filmmakers that I really admire, and I've used RØDE products since I started making films on YouTube in 2017. And I thought maybe next year I'll have a body of work I'm proud enough to submit, and I began my series World earlier this year, and by the end of the year I thought, pretty proud of these episodes, and fired them off and hoped for the best.
So is there a short film or a full-length feature on the horizon for you?
I would love to make a movie about the making of this whole series when I've got a few more parts under my belt. I think it would be a really interesting story. These are also very short movies that I'm publishing, between a minute or two, but in reality, the first cuts are much, much longer. My scripts are longer, the shots are much more expansive, so I'm cutting probably about as much as I am putting in the final piece. So there's all this stuff on the cutting room floor that I think is of value and might work its way into a longer piece somewhere down the road.
Yeah, for sure. Haha, down the road. Look at that.
No pun intended.
Moving on to your content a little bit deeper, I noticed music and sound effects do play a major role in moving your story
Absolutely.
forward. And I was wondering, has that always been that way for you? Like, has sound always been an inspiration of when you're seeing the film in your head?
Certainly. I think it always begins for me on the page, written out, most usually longhand in a notebook or on various scraps of paper around the studio. But then very quickly after that, it's a soundscape in my head. And it's my voice mixed with music. So usually I lay down a voiceover temp track over the song I know I'm going to use right after I've got a first draft written, just to allow me to feel what the pace and tone of the film is going to be. And then I will create a shot list and go into proper production. And sometimes the music changes, sometimes my voiceover changes, but I have the sound in my head first. It's what follows the words for me. And I think it's also what sort of coaxes out some of the imagery. It gives me a bit of a map to follow as far as shot length and framing and how I want things to look, but they're certainly matched on how they sound first.
Yeah.
And I think it gives the pieces a cohesive quality. I see what I'm making with these movies is almost trying to make a pop song in video form. So I think that sort of structure, the brevity, that's all going through my head when I'm making these.
Braxton, earlier you made a comment about your content being met the moment. Do you think there is such a thing as being in the right place at the right time when making content?
I think that's the hope, that you're making something that you in your heart know to be true, that you feel like is coming from an authentic place. And if the audience receives it on those same terms, I think there's some sort of collaboration of the moment and of the timing. And having made long form films before and sort of adjusted my style to fit what was a new genre on Instagram in this short form vertical cinema, I suppose. It's very untapped, brand new territory. And it was an explorative thing for me. I thought it would be an opportunity to try something new, to apply some of my previous skills to something that felt exciting, something that felt challenging. And I think in that way, the response has really validated and confirmed that that's what this series is meant for other people. And it's exceeded my expectations, and this opportunity and validation is the absolute apex of that.
What would your advice be, or what would you have liked to receive when you were probably in that first, second, or third year of making your films and no one really was giving you that metric validation, but you just needed to keep going? What would you say to those sort of artists?
Well, I think you must love what you're making. And as long as that is the driving motivation and the driving ambition, I think there is a sense of resolve in that feeling that it might not happen today, but it's going to happen at some point. And you're only improving in those years. And I think I certainly can empathize with that struggle and that feeling of having your work go unnoticed, but the belief in what you're making is for me was always enough to continue me on to the next project. And I think it was just one foot in front of the other, and all of these skill sets and your taste and your ability to tell stories, all of that compounds over the years, and you're only improving in your craft the more you put into it, and the more of yourself that you put into it, the more of your time that you invest. And I know that with this most recent series, it sort of has given the illusion of some overnight success, but in truth, I've been doing the exact same thing that I'm doing now for many years. And it's also, I think, in that provided a real wonderful stability and confidence, I'm so glad that the movies are reaching an audience, and that is a big change. But in terms of my work ethic and my daily routine and practice, all of it's pretty similar to what I've been doing and grown accustomed to over the last few years, for sure.
Yeah. And I think the driving force and getting through those struggle times is the passion. And it's interesting, I've talked to a few creators now in these interviews, and that is the through line, truly, is that you are all successful, but not because of the metrics, but because you are lucky enough to know what you're passionate about and what you love. And it just gets you through those hard times.
That's exactly right.
Tell us your creative structure when it comes to world building, when an idea pops into your mind and then you're in that script, or you said a little bit, you touch upon listening to a song or doing a voiceover. But let's say you've got a new film that you want to post next week. How does that come together for you?
I think I've got a whole bunch of ideas written down in a notebook, and if I can't forget an idea, if it sticks around for maybe a week or two, I think, okay, I should get around to making a movie about that. I think usually I test it out in conversation as well, and gauge the interest of my friends and family and see if, they lit up when I started talking about that. I think there's probably a movie in there somewhere.
It's addictive. Yeah, your stories they have this sort of Roald Dahl surrealism, but I think what connects you to it is just like, it just feels mundane. It's almost like a Chekhov play in some way, where it's just like, this is something.
Oh, well, that's a compliment of the highest order.
And your studio, do you foresee expanding that space, or are you kind of emotionally attached to that studio you have at the moment?
I've been very lucky to build studio spaces all across the world. So I've got a studio in America that I've kept up and added to over the years between my work in Los Angeles and London. Me and my girlfriend, who's an artist, we share a studio here, and she's a painter, and I've helped build that out for her and for filming for myself. So each of these places is a little home away from home for me. And the studio is such an important part of my practice. I feel tremendously grateful to have such beautiful places to work in.
If there was a studio that you wanted to visit from any artist, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Wow, that's such a fantastic question. Artist studios are such a sacred place. I've had the privilege to work in my mentor's studio, Van Neistat, who has one of the most beautiful filmmaking studios I've ever seen. I got to visit Giacometti's studio in Paris, and they've preserved it in the museum where you can look through the glass and see how it worked when he was there, and just an incredible sense of artistry there. But if I could pick anybody, I think I would have to probably say David Lynch.
What?
On
Crazy.
his compound in Los Angeles. And I think mostly because you just couldn't box him in as an artist. He's an amazing filmmaker. He's an incredible painter. He's a prolific woodworker. And all of those tools and materials for that art is in one place. So he's got the editing bay and the painting studio, and I would just love to be in that world for a moment. I think that would be really incredible. The late, great David Lynch.
Yeah, it's funny because I believe in one of your videos, I don't know if it was the bike one, but you did touch upon how freedom of expression is really important for you, and just freedom in general.
Yes.
Is that why that studio and David Lynch, you gravitate towards it because you just feel like you can just be
I think so.
Untethered, no chains?
I think that's exactly right. Another artist would be Jean Cocteau, the French poet, filmmaker, sculptor. I think I'm attracted to these artists from the past who their expression was not limited by their medium. They had the bravery to embrace that childlike sense of play without self-consciousness, and they experimented with many different art forms and succeeded with such flying colors across the spectrum.
Do you have any developing ideas that you want to add to your studios at the moment?
Oh, that's all my daydreams are.
Okay.
It's playing in my head so often that I think it's probably a distraction from writing the movies.
Oh yeah.
But I would love to. It's a forever work in progress. It really is.
Well, that's good, right? You don't want to. It's almost like a reflection of your work, right? If you're not constantly working on it, then you're just complacent, and then you're just doing the same thing over and over again. So that's good. You should keep thinking and keep dreaming, for sure. Any emerging creators that are watching this interview right now that are hoping to be in the position that you're in and to create the work that you create, what would your advice be to them?
Well, I think I would have to say tell your own story. Find the stories in your life that you feel you have the deepest passion around, the most love for, the compulsion to share with the world, and use that material to make your work. I also think when you're getting started for aspiring filmmakers and writers, something that really helped me was giving myself an education, watching lots of films, reading lots of books, staying up on things that happen not in contemporary times, but things that have preceded us, that allowed us to be links in the chain of a greater string of artists and filmmakers and creators. And I think bringing all of those people to bear when you make the work that you love, which is a reverence for those of the past, and making work in contemporary times that feels new and also honors where we've come from.
Thank you so much, Braxton. And again,
thank you.
Congratulations on being the Emerging Creator of the Year 2025.
Incredibly kind. What a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
So congratulations again. I can't stop saying that to you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's all right.
Thank you so much.